On June 7, 2013, Shannon was charged in federal court with possessing and producing a biological toxin.
Welcome to Watch Mojo. And today, we're looking at notable small-screen figures who broke the law to a deeply disturbing degree.
On Wednesday, Josh was sentenced to 151 months in prison.
Jon Hamm, the star of Mad Men, captivated audiences with Don Draper's quest to fraudulently reinvent himself. That's not too different from the story of actor Jon Hamm.
I feel bad for you.
I don't think about you at all.
In 1990, he was among the Sigma Nu members at the University of Texas who were charged with excessively hazing Mark Allen Sanders. The fraternity pledge was severely beaten with a paddle, tortured, and degraded. Hamm, an alleged ringleader, confessed to the assault and later transferred to his home state of Missouri.
What used to happen?
Oh, I'd get furious, especially when I was a kid. It was just rage stroke out, lose my mind if I lost anything.
He has since been very open about his past struggles and mental health along his rise to being one of the most respected names in peak TV. However, the torture incident remains a suspiciously sensitive topic for Hamm.
Going to therapy is not really about sort of wrestling with these, as you say, existential problems.
Jen Shah. The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City fans fell in love with Jen Shah's fiery personality in 2020.
We basically have to FaceTime a lot. It's kind of like a FaceTime marriage, if that was a thing.
They would be far more disturbed by revelations of cruelty a few months later. Shah and her husband Sharif were charged with years of involvement in a telemarketing scam that stole a lot of money from targets. Many senior citizens lost their pensions.
Homeland Security.
We're looking for Jen Shah.
After Shah changed her not guilty plea to guilty, she was sentenced to 6.5 years in prison. Her husband, a lawyer, was let go. Shah remains a public figure from behind bars, but many have a hard time forgiving her devastating exploitation of vulnerable people. She is due for an early release in 2026.
She told them, "I am profoundly and deeply sorry."
Robert Blake. After a long film career, Robert Blake found a prolific second act on television. He's best known as the star of the procedural Beretta, and for a real-life tragedy that sounds like one of his cases.
Millionaires don't commit crimes. Things happen.
Blake's bitter marriage to Bonnie Lee Bakley ended with her seemingly random murder in 2001. It was suspected that her husband hired someone to kill her. A jury acquitted Blake on one count of soliciting a former stuntman and were deadlocked on another. However, a 2005 civil suit by Bakley's children found Blake liable for their mother's death.
In this place, it's real simple. It's not how you're doing. Yeah. You're alive or you're dead.
He himself felt he was lucky to end this ordeal with $30 million in restitution to the survivors. Blake was already long retired, but the scandal haunts his would-be distinguished legacy.
I think she was a con artist. Yes, I think she came to Hollywood to con her way into show business.
Tim Allen. The wholesome image of sitcom veteran Tim Allen looks nothing like his life before stardom. In 1978, he was arrested at an airport for possessing enough cocaine for a trafficking charge.
Freeze!
Facing a life sentence, he confessed to the charges and identified colleagues in a drug ring. Allen was so charismatic in his testimony that the judge supposedly said he could find a career in comedy. Sure enough, Allen left prison in 1981 to become an unlikely icon of family entertainment. Along the way, he's had to deal with other scandals involving substance use disorder. The sober Allen has since been remarkably open about his improvement from a life of crime.
How'd you do that?
Shannon Richardson. Texas actress Shannon Richardson had small roles on big shows like The Vampire Diaries and The Walking Dead. Then she came to the forefront of the media in 2013. The pregnant Richardson reported that her estranged husband mailed letters laced with ricin to President Barack Obama. New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg, and the director of the Mayors Against Illegal Guns program.
Shannon was trying to frame me as some kind of backwater, gun-toting, crazy person. She was pretty evil.
Police quickly discovered that the poisoned letters were real, but that the accuser sent them. Richardson later confessed and was sentenced to 18 years in prison for criminal threats in 2014.
A federal judge gave Shannon Richardson the maximum sentence under her plea deal.
She finally got her starring role the following year on an episode of Investigation Discovery's Who the Bleep Did I Marry?
I think it was just her way of getting the attention that she's always craved.
Ash Armand. It's not like sex worker Akshaya Kubiak, better known as Ash Armand, gained fame on a strictly lawful brand through Showtime's Gigolos.
It's a good thing that I like playing dress-up.
But he gained more attention for a truly heinous act in 2020. The already controversial reality star was charged with bludgeoning his friend Herline Dulai to death while under the influence of psychedelic mushrooms.
I basically I just seen the concert.
He ultimately pleaded guilty to manslaughter and mayhem and was sentenced to 8 to 20 years in prison. The tragedy was a far cry from the glamorous and zen brand that Armand built on Gigolos. It's certainly a cautionary tale for bohemian experiments getting carried away. Armand has since come under fire after being linked to Diddy's freak-off parties.
The more that I got involved with this case and the more that I learned about it, it just did not sit right with me at all.
Johnny Lewis. Real-life motorcycle enthusiast Johnny Lewis had a memorable stint on Sons of Anarchy after many small film and TV roles.
Okay. Thanks.
His career was effectively ended in 2011 by a motorcycle accident that caused severe brain damage. The resulting mental illness, made worse by substance use disorder, ostensibly led to Lewis killing his elderly landlady Catherine Davis and her cat 1 year later.
Eyewitnesses told police Lewis appeared to show superhuman strength.
He then fell to his death from the victim's roof. Authorities later determined that the 28-year-old Lewis killed Davis and ruled his own death an accident. The tragedy continues to haunt the young actor's colleagues as a terrible end to a promising talent.
The creator of his show even tweeting, "I wish I could say I was shocked, but I was not."
Jeffrey Jones.
And look at that kitchen. You're finally going to be able to cook a decent meal.
After a prolific career in film and television, character actor Jeffrey Jones saw a major professional decline after 2002. That may be too good with the scandal hanging over him. Jones was charged with paying a young boy to pose in explicit photos over the course of 9 months. The actor pleaded no contest with no charge of direct sexual contact with the victim. He was later convicted of misdemeanor possession of illegal images and registered as a sex offender, later being arrested twice for failing to update his status. Jones has since managed to find steady work, including on the classic HBO Western Deadwood. Little by little, though, the court of public opinion has limited his tainted career.
You ever been beaten, Merrick?
Once, when I thought I had the smallpox, Doc Cochran slapped me in the face.
Ryan Grantham. From 2007's The Secret of the Nutcracker to a recurring role on the CW's Riverdale, Ryan Grantham was a television darling from childhood.
You didn't do anything wrong.
He also struggled with serious mental health issues. In 2020, the 21-year-old compulsively shot his mother, Barbara Waite, dead in their British Columbia home. He then prepared to travel to Ottawa to assassinate Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. Instead, Grantham surrendered to the police and later pleaded guilty to second-degree murder. He was sentenced to life in prison, with eligibility for parole in 2036. Grantham has since been vocal about his remorse for taking his mother's life and destroying his own once bright future.
I'm so sorry.
Rolf Harris. A career in music and acting led to Rolf Harris becoming one of the biggest personalities in Australian and British TV.
It's Ross Cartoon Club! You can join today!
He was particularly beloved for hosting shows for children. Then, in 2012, British police launched Operation U-Tree after presenter Jimmy Savile was posthumously ousted as a serial predator. Harris was among the 19 alleged associates arrested. After years of allegations, he was convicted on 12 counts of indecent assault of 4 young girls and women.
There were no words, no reaction, and no apology.
The career-ending scandal further disillusioned the public with talents that they'd been watching on the small screen all their lives. Harris died 6 years after being released from prison on license after a conviction with one victim was overturned. The other convictions were upheld.
Then, a tarnished national treasure started his journey to prison.
Jussie Smollett.
What is it that has you so angry? Is it the attackers?
It's the attackers, but it's also the attacks.
This man has enjoyed a long career in the entertainment industry, first appearing in The Mighty Ducks when he was just 10 years old. But all that work flew out the window when he made up a hate crime. In late January 2019, news broke that Smollett was attacked outside of his Chicago apartment by 2 homophobic racists, quickly becoming a sympathetic victim in the national media. But that sympathy changed to hate when a police investigation found that Smollett had orchestrated the attack himself, having hired 2 brothers to pose as the assailants. The brothers claim that Smollett wanted to be a poster child for activism. Instead, he was ridiculed, fired from Empire, and sentenced to 5 months in county jail.
All lies. And his claim under oath that there was no hoax, that was a lie too.
Adam Hicks.
Now, a former Disney actor and his girlfriend are now charged with robbery for a crime spree on the streets of Burbank.
Known for playing the titular Luther Waffles on Disney's Zeke and Luther, Adam Hicks has faced some significant legal issues in recent years. On January 25, 2018, Hicks and his girlfriend Danny Tamburo robbed a number of people at gunpoint in Burbank, including 2 women in their 70s. Both Hicks and Tamburo were eventually caught and arrested for armed robbery. Hicks pleaded no contest and was found guilty, receiving a sentence of 5 years in prison. Hicks' career in television has been thoroughly dismantled, and you likely won't see him on the small screen anytime soon.
A search of the residence and of that car led us to the recovery of all the victim's property and of the handgun that we believe was used in the crime.
Orlando Brown.
At the end of the day, you have these warrants you're picked up. This is why you're going back to LA County. Okay, thank you.
Another Disney actor who has fallen on hard times, Orlando Brown once entertained millions playing Eddie Thomas on That's So Raven. Unfortunately, his life slowly spiraled, culminating in a very controversial 2016. The first incident occurred in February, when he struck his girlfriend in a police station parking lot in Torrance, California, and was arrested for domestic battery and drug possession. A further domestic disturbance occurred the following March, and in September, he broke into a Las Vegas restaurant owned by his friend Danny Boy. Things cooled down until 2022, when the now homeless Brown was arrested in Ohio for domestic violence after threatening his brother with a hammer.
And he was coming towards you? He was thrusting it, forward thrust, and all of that. Okay.
Jeremy Jackson.
As a result of your actions, Big Brother has no choice than to remove you from the house.
He might not be well known today, but Jeremy Jackson was popular in the 1990s, playing Hobie Buchanan on Baywatch. Unfortunately, Jackson soon fell into heavy drug use and departed the show after 159 episodes. His career and personal life never truly recovered. In 2015, Jackson was kicked off Celebrity Big Brother 15 after opening another house guest's dressing gown. He was cautioned by the police following the incident, but he wasn't so lucky following another incident. Just a few months later, Jackson tried stealing a car in Los Angeles and stabbed the woman who intervened. Luckily, she was okay, and Jackson was sentenced to 5 years probation and 270 days in county jail.
It's probably the grind to get back to at least some level of normal. That's the hardest.
Drake Bell.
How do you plead to count 1? Attempted endangering children, felony of the 4th degree.
Guilty.
The winner of 10 Kids' Choice Awards, Drake Bell is a beacon of nostalgia, having starred as one half of the legendary Drake and Josh. But like other child stars on this list, he has faced a number of significant legal issues. The worst occurred in 2021, when Bell was charged in Cleveland with disseminating matter harmful to juveniles and attempted endangering children, the latter of which is a felony. The crimes relate to inappropriate social media messages that Bell shared with the underage girl and allegedly engaging in sexual chats. He pleaded guilty and was given 2 years of probation and 200 hours of community service.
This is new at 6. Former Nickelodeon star Drake Bell avoided jail time today on his child endangerment conviction. Bell was sentenced to 2 years of probation and 200 hours of community service.
Dmitri Diachenko.
Where to next?
We go to underground poker game and mostly abandoned insane asylum.
Yes!
He wasn't a big star, but Dmitri Diachenko found some success on television, appearing in shows like Sons of Anarchy and How I Met Your Mother. But his career fizzled just as it was getting hot owing to a horrible crime he allegedly committed in 2014. Diachenko was living with his ex-girlfriend in Los Angeles at the time, who told him that she no longer wanted to be roommates. According to the district attorney, Diachenko killed and ate her pet rabbit, all while sending her graphic photos of the entire process. And when she returned home, he told her that he would do the same to her. Diachenko claims it was a hoax. He was given 3 years probation and 60 days of community labor.
Wait here. We get you on VPI list for party.
You give us $200 per person, cover charge.
Charles S. Dutton.
Do you know why I stopped you, sir?
Yeah, I do. I'll tell you what. Why don't you and your wife have dinner on me, and you can tell her about it.
You offering me a bribe, sir?
The recipient of 3 Emmy Awards, Charles S. Dutton is a prime example of someone turning their life around. Growing up in a rough area of Baltimore, Dutton's life was upended in 1967 when he killed a man in a knife fight. According to Dutton, the killing was in self-defense, and he was given 5 years in prison for manslaughter. He was out after just 20 months, but was soon resentenced on a handgun charge. He was given a further 8 years after assaulting a prison guard, bringing his total sentence to 11 years. Luckily, he discovered the joy of drama while serving his time and later earned a master's degree from the Yale School of Drama, resulting in his Emmy-winning career on television.
Most states were spending tens of millions in those days on rehabilitation. But those days are over with. It's punishment now.
Jerry Harris.
The public knows him as a star on Netflix, a cheerleader winning the hearts of many. Prosecutors say Jerry Harris is a child predator.
2020 was an up and down year for Jerry Harris. He became a national star after appearing in the Netflix documentary Cheer, which chronicled the Navarro College Bulldogs cheer team from Texas. But the following September, just 8 months after the series debuted, Harris was arrested by the FBI in Chicago for producing illicit material related to minors. According to Harris himself, he engaged in inappropriate behavior on Snapchat with a number of underage individuals, and he committed illegal physical activity on at least one occasion. Harris pleaded guilty to the charges and was sentenced to 12 years in prison.
They are expected to argue for his release from jail. Part of their argument expected to be that Harris has asthma and therefore is at increased risk for COVID-19.
Lane Garrison.
I went to 8 prisons and, not a day has gone by that I've not thought about that young man.
This actor got a major break after landing the role of David Opolskis, better known as Tweener on the acclaimed Fox drama Prison Break. But he didn't have long to enjoy his newfound success. In December of 2006, about halfway through the show's second season, Garrison came across 3 teenagers outside a liquor store. He went with them to a local high school party, and all 4 left the party in his vehicle. Garrison, who was both drunk and high at the time, crashed the car into a tree, killing one of the teens and injuring the other 2. He was given over 3 years in jail. In the words of Garrison himself, from Prison Break to prison.
I got in an accident 1 block from my house and a young man was killed. And I found myself going from Prison Break, the show, to prison for 2 years.
Mark Salling.
You broke the rules. For that, you must be punished.
After attempting a career in music, the late Mark Salling found great success on Glee. playing resident bad boy Noah Puckerman. But as it turns out, Salling was actually much worse than his character. On December 29, 2015, after the show had already concluded, Salling was arrested in Los Angeles on suspicion of owning illicit material related to minors. The police were tipped off by one of his ex-girlfriends, and they found mountains of evidence on his computer. He accepted a plea deal and was expected to receive up to 7 years in prison. However, Salling took his own life before sentencing could occur.
One of the stars of the musical comedy Glee has died, and all indications are he took his own life.
Allison Mack.
Mack was sentenced to 3 years in prison after pleading guilty to charges she manipulated women into becoming sex slaves for NXIVM leader Keith Raniere.
The story of Allison Mack is a wild one indeed. She rose to fame in the 2000s playing Chloe Sullivan on Smallville. But aside from a brief stint on Wilfred and a few guest shots, Mack just sort of disappeared after the show ended in 2011. As it turns out, she had become involved in a New York cult called NXIVM and was quite a high-ranking member. Parts of her role involved trafficking women for founder Keith Raniere, engaging in various forms of corporal punishment, and physically branding recruits. It all ended in 2018 when Mack was arrested by the FBI in Brooklyn on charges of human trafficking and forced labor. She pled guilty to racketeering and served 21 months in prison.
Well, new this morning, according to a government website, the television actor Allison Mack has been released from a California prison.
Lillo Brancato.
Do you feel you got away with murder?
No, I don't feel that I've, got away with murder.
Sometimes the line between fiction and reality is rather blurry. Lillo Brancato appeared in The Sopranos, playing Christopher's underling Matthew Bevilacqua. On December 10, 2005, Brancato and an accomplice named Stephen Armento broke into a house in the Bronx. Living next door was an off-duty police officer named Daniel Enchategui, who heard glass breaking and confronted the men outside. A gunfight then ensued and Enchategui was killed. The fatal shot was fired by Armento, so Brancato was found not guilty of second-degree murder. However, he was found guilty of attempted burglary and was given 10 years in prison. He served less than 5.
What was your reaction when you found out that you had been a part of a cop killing?
Jared Fogle.
You're this unknown guy who just announced he'd been eating a lot of Subways.
A different kind of television star, Jared Fogle was the main spokesperson for Subway between 2000 and 2015, appearing in over 300 commercials. And their working relationship probably would have gone longer had it not been for one devastating discovery. On July 7, 2015, Fogle's Indiana home was raided by the FBI, who found him to be in possession of illegal material. He was arrested on charges of distribution and receipt and was quickly fired from Subway. Federal Judge Tanya Pratt claimed that the level of perversion and lawlessness exhibited by Mr. Fogle is extreme and sentenced him to nearly 16 years in prison. He is currently serving his sentence in FCI Inglewood and is eligible for parole in 2029.
A multi-millionaire who made his fortune by being a relatable everyman has become one of the most reviled men in America.
Will Hayden.
The star of Discovery's Sons of Guns, Will Hayden, has been taken into police custody in Louisiana.
After serving in the Marines, Will Hayden opened Red Jacket Firearms, a business that catered to custom weapons. This business attracted the attention of the Discovery Channel, and they produced a show called Sons of Guns, which chronicled the daily goings-on inside Red Jacket Firearms. The show was on the air for 5 seasons until news broke in August 2014 that Hayden had been arrested for crimes related to minors. Sons of Guns was immediately canceled, and the story got even worse when Hayden's own daughter accused him of similar crimes against her. He was convicted of 2 counts of aggravated assault and is currently serving 3 life sentences inside Louisiana State Penitentiary.
Hayden is in custody and being held on a $250,000 bond. For more on the developing Will Hayden case, go to fox4on1.com.
Danny Masterson.
He was admitted to North Kern State Prison
A Los Angeles jury convicted him back in May.
That 70s show kickstarted a lot of careers, including that of Danny Masterson, who would later reunite with Ashton Kutcher on The Ranch. But not long after that show started, Masterson was hit with multiple accusations of assault and was both fired from The Ranch and dropped by the United Talent Agency. These accusations prompted an investigation by the LAPD, resulting in numerous charges of sexual assault. The years-long battle finally came to an end in 2023, when Masterson was convicted of 2 counts and given 30 years to life in prison.
A Los Angeles judge has sentenced one of the stars of That 70s Show, Danny Masterson, to 30 years to life in prison.
Josh Duggar.
Today, it's my honor and privilege to join in this announcement of a guilty verdict in the case of United States versus Josh Duggar.
19 Kids and Counting was a show that aired on TLC between 2008 and 2015. It followed the Duggar family, which consisted of parents Michelle and Jim Bob and their 19 children. The eldest was Josh Duggar, who was already an adult by the time the show started. Unfortunately, accusations of sexual assault have followed Duggar throughout much of his adult life, and they directly led to the cancellation of 19 Kids and Counting. Justice finally came for Duggar in 2021, when he was arrested by U.S. Marshals for receiving and owning illegal material related to minors. He was found guilty of possession and given 12 years in prison, a sentence that was welcomed and supported by multiple family members.
The Dillards summed it all up by expressing, quote, "This trial has felt more like a funeral than anything else."
Stephen Collins.
Did you feel at times that you were leading a double life in any way?
No. After many years of acting, Stephen Collins became a household name in 1996, having landed the role of Eric Camden on Seventh Heaven. Eric is a Protestant minister, which is deeply ironic considering Collins's immoral crimes. In 2014, TMZ leaked audio from a counseling session that Collins was attending, in which he admitted to misconduct with underage girls. The leak was devastating to Collins's career, and he was fired from numerous projects. Collins admitted his transgressions to the media, claiming that he had committed 3 instances of misconduct in his distant past. But as the claims are unsubstantiated, Collins has faced no legal recourse for his actions.
The first incident was in 1973. You were 25 years old. How old was the victim?
Michael Jace.
Michael Jace was found guilty today of second-degree murder in the death of his wife, April. He shot and killed her in May of 2014.
This actor was lucky enough to be on The Shield, which is considered one of the best shows ever made. He played Julian Lowe, one of the few decent police officers in a show full of corrupt ones. And like Stephen Collins, this clash between character and reality is deeply ironic. In May of 2014, Jace murdered his wife April in Los Angeles and proceeded to call the cops on himself, bluntly telling them, "I shot my wife." According to investigators, Jace shot her once in the back and twice in both legs, which was considered a symbolic gesture as April was a professional runner. He was given 40 years to life in prison.
It's really hard to come up with words for it when you've done what you've done and have to deal with the consequences, but he understands second degree.
Bill Cosby.
Bill Cosby, found guilty. The actor and comedian, once known as America's Dad, found guilty on all charges today.
There are few downfalls bigger than that of Bill Cosby. Once considered America's dad, Cosby is now a social pariah, and his legacy in Hollywood has been permanently tarnished. It all relates to dozens of indecent assault allegations that date back to 1965. Decades worth of accusations were completely ignored, but we can thank comedian Hannibal Buress for bringing justice to the countless women. In October 2014, Buress made a joke about Cosby's sketchy past, leading more than a dozen victims to come forth. Cosby was eventually found guilty of 3 counts of aggravated indecent assault and was given 3 to 10 years in prison. He spent less than 3 years inside before his conviction was overturned owing to a legal technicality.
He was released after an appellate court ruled that he'd been prosecuted in violation of an earlier agreement made between the district attorney's office and the disgraced comic.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Jimmy Savile.
Each day brings new shocking allegations, the latest suggesting he used his charity work to gain access to the young and the vulnerable.
Tragically, sometimes justice is not brought. Such is the case with Jimmy Savile, the host of Top of the Pops and Jim'll Fix It. Savile died in 2011 as a British legend and a night bachelor, having received the honor all the way back in 1990. But his legacy was brought into question just 1 year later, when an ITV documentary examined claims of indecent abuse against Savile. Similar accusations had been made during Savile's lifetime, but they were widely ignored. But this documentary prompted a new investigation from Scotland Yard, who found Savile to be one of Britain's most prolific assault offenders. He had reportedly assaulted hundreds of people throughout his lifetime, and he got away with it all.
We've received over 400 lines of information from the public. We are investigating major crime here.
Who are some other television idols with a dark past? Drop a line in the comments.
Lisa, he pulled a gun out and shot his wife.